We organize lots of opinion pieces and letters to the editor in the paper, and I think probably a lot of you have seen some of those. Because when we publish in the Daily News, for example, all of those pieces of editorial and letters to the editor go to the congressional offices because they want to keep their fingers on the pulse of the field. We helped to establish the Lewis and Clark Valley spin-off group. We received endorsements for carbon fee and dividend for the Moscow Daily News. We lobbied Northwest Public Broadcasting to include environmental and climate change reporting. They didn't have anything on their schedule, so now there are two different programs, Climate One and, let's see what the other one is, I can't remember, Living on Earth. And so now, through our efforts, you can listen to those things on the news. Another effort that we're making right now is to work with local meteorologists, television meteorologists, to encourage them to include more climate news and climate information. We got resolutions endorsing carbon fee and dividend specifically passed through both the Pullman and the Moscow City Councils. Again, the Moscow City Council can't do anything directly about climate change, although it can certainly reduce its own footprint. You'll be hearing in a few weeks from the city of Moscow about what they're doing, which is really impressive. But the reason to have the city do this is because, again, our members in Congress will see that and hear that and know that it's not just a small group within Moscow, but it's the city council as a whole supported this. In order to do this, two of us met off and on for a year with every individual city council member and the mayor, and went back again and again to answer questions and to persuade. And it happened. And finally, we're working right now with Pullman to create a climate change committee for the city. Moscow has the Sustainable Environment Commission. Pullman has nothing equivalent. So our members are working on something similar. Our proposal for the resolution, the climate change resolution that was passed by the Moscow City Council, went through our Sustainable Environment Commission. That's how we got it started. Okay, next slide. So Idaho at large, I think we all know what the signs of climate change are. They present serious health concerns. It presents serious concerns to the forestry industry, serious concerns to the recreation industry, serious concerns to agriculture. So for example, even in dryland farming, weather patterns have become so unpredictable that it's really hard for farmers to know when they can get in the field and to get into the field. Winter used to be, what used to be winter snow is now spring rains more often. So this is affecting local agriculture. And obviously, hydroelectric and irrigation in southern Idaho is deeply affected by reduced snowpack. Next slide, please. There are other things about climate change that may not seem so immediate to Idaho. Well, these are floods somewhere else, right? This is famine and movements of people somewhere else. But it does impact us, not only from a moral point of view, because we should all care, but it affects our pocketbooks. Insurance prices go up. We pay for all of the disaster relief that is having to take place around the country. The U.S. military is spending an enormous amount of money to deal with conflict resulting from migrations of people and from famine, especially in the Middle East. The U.S. military is totally committed to dealing with climate change. It names climate change, and for example, last year in the U.S. military budget, they cited climate change as one of the major threats that they faced. A group within the U.S. House of Representatives asked them to remove language relating to climate change. And the Climate Solutions Caucus that I showed you the pictures of insisted that they return the climate change language to the military bill, because the military is dealing not only with these threats of instability and war, it's dealing with the fact that the Norfolk Naval Station will be underwater fairly soon. So it's dealing with all kinds of things. So, and it, you know, it could be, obviously, there could be mass migrations. We eventually will be affected by mass migrations because people will come here. One of the reasons they will come here is the inland Northwest is going to be relatively less affected by climate change in the short term than other parts of the world and the country. So, here is our new governor, Brad Little. The first major acknowledgement of climate change from a statewide Idaho legislature. I think he sees all these things. Can I stop for a minute and see if you have any questions? And please feel free to stop me at any time. Yeah.
Who sets the fees?
So the fee will start, and I'll show you some slides in a minute, but the fee would start, the proposed fee would start at $15 per ton of carbon equivalent air pollution. And then it would rise until our goals are met. So it starts at $15 per ton. I'll have a slide that I think will make that a little bit clearer in just a minute. Yeah. Okay, I don't know that I need to show you these next few slides, but I think I'll go ahead and just very quickly show you 3 slides about climate change in general. I don't know whether you can see the figures here, but this first point on the graph is 1800, and the last point is 2020 in terms of global temperature.
What does Lola smoothing?
It's what provides that solid line.
Yeah, I know.
It's like an averaging of all these points, these data points.
Okay. That's pretty clear.
This chart starts
They have
at
the annual meeting, well,
Oh,
yeah.
Don't ask me, Margaret, about anything having to do with charts or mathematics.
The trend is pretty clear.
It's clear.
This chart, can you see the 1,000 here and the 2,000 here? Those are the points in time.
So is that, I'm the same way with this kind of stuff, is that 1 degree higher then, that it's gone?
Okay,
Is
so
that what the
and then
one
over
temperature
here is
anomaly?
kind of small. Can you see it better,
Yeah.
Kathy, on the
I don't know what to look for.
Is that
the left-hand
scale?
axis?
Left-hand axis goes minus 0.5 Celsius.
It says that just temperature, but
Anomaly.
temperature anomaly.
So the 0 line is normal,
Okay,
Uh-huh.
is that right?
okay.
I don't know, I think. And then, so it actually cooled a little bit.
Yep.
Until the 40s,
Right,
and then it started going up.
right. And one of the important things about this, especially if you're talking to people about climate change, because often people will say the climate has always been changing, right? And that's true. And this shows that. It has always been changing. But it has never changed like this. Like the red line back there. Red line point.
Like that it keeps going up?
And
never
it's
changed?
just going up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since the Industrial Revolution, CO2 has increased from 280 parts per million to 400 parts per million today.
Are we on the next slide then?
Okay, next slide is a broader look. Okay, so a broader look at climate change. Okay, that's the one I was just talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry, we weren't there yet.
Okay,
So
so
now
there we
we're
are
on.
now, okay.
Okay. I see the red line.
Yeah, future change depends on our action now. And then the next one is the number of extreme weather events. And again, we know that weather and climate are not directly correlated, but we can see trends. I like this chart, and it might be hard to see, but this is from the Audubon Society.
The next one?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it's a little US map. So what this shows is the northerly trajectory of birds over the past, let's see, I can't, it's kind of fuzzy on this
1966
computer.
to 2005?
Okay, 1960 to 2005. So that you see the blue points, which is where these birds are, their habitat is now. And if you can't really see them on this chart, but at the bottom of that line is where it was in 1960. So that's a very sort of anecdotal in a way, but I think all of us can point to something that we've noticed, you know, like, I noticed that the lilacs are blooming earlier than they used to, right? Or you can plant your tomatoes earlier, it's good. And you know, farmers are liking the higher carbon dioxide concentration because it helps plants grow, right? But it also, I think, leaches nitrogen, or the nutritional value of plants declines as CO2 acts as a stimulus, as a fertilizer. Okay, so, next slide, please. 2 recent reports about climate change, the National Climate Assessment, which the government had to issue because it was mandated by Congress back during the Bush 1 years. And it just indicates what generally has been reported. Costs of carbon pollution and climate change are much higher than we previously thought. And then the International Panel on Climate Change report from October indicates that we really need to limit temperature increase to 1.5 degrees centigrade rather than 2, which we thought previously, by a very rapid decrease of emissions. Yeah.
Haven't we already reached 1.5? Haven't we
So we
already
have to
reached?
so we have to try to keep it right there rather than allow it to slip up to 2.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why there's so much immediacy in that
Yeah.
report.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Next slide,
Oh,
please.
I have a question about that slide.
Yeah, go back.
So you have the national report on the economic impacts of climate change. Are any of those distilled down to state levels
Yes.
so that we could see what the economic
I
impacts
believe
are
that
in
the
Idaho?
National Climate Assessment is distilled down to state levels. One of the reports I've seen is actually you can go down to a county level. I'm not sure which one that was, but you can go to this website. Yeah, thanks.